Hello and welcome to this special edition of SBG News and Views with my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, phenomenal, extravagant co-host, Robert Imbrielli. And of course, our amazing guest today. We have a gentleman named Matt Geiger, who is from Midas Gold Group. You know, it's phenomenal. He's going to talk to us on how the banks are falling, how there's collusion with the banks and virtually every government worldwide, and a lot more stuff. We're very, very happy to have Matt on. We've been looking forward to this interview for a while in discussions and side discussions. Matt didn't know about it. I knew that I was going to interview him a long time ago. He had no clue. Anyways, I think you are on, Matt. Let's bring you on real quick. And I think you are on in the background on one of our shows with Captain Bill, if I remember correctly. Was that right?
El Capitan. Yep, El Capitan, Bill Jackson.
El
That's right.
Capitan.
We sat in with Robert. You were driving.
I was driving, right. I remember that.
Usually me. I'm usually driving, Miss Daisy. So this time it was Robert.
That was a show where you weren't on, I don't think, Lewis. You weren't on that one.
Oh, good. I should not be on more shows. We'll get much higher ratings if I'm not on the shows. So anyways, welcome, Matt. It's awesome to have you here. And we want to dig in and find out what's going on in the, I guess, the background in the banking system behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea, Midas, we're an actual gold shop, So in other words, we have a storefront right on Deer Valley. We deal with the general public, and you see a lot of these gold companies advertise. They're just call centers out of Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So people really like the fact that we have the product on site. You could come in, you could visit us in person. As a matter of fact, I encourage it, go out to lunch, do something. But yeah, I mean, I've been in this business long enough. We've been doing this almost a decade. And I've started to really understand, especially when Trump came into office, they started to really understand what these banks really do. The deep state operates in lockstep, right? So you have kind of the mainstream media, the banks, and the politicians, right? And they all operate together, right? So when you look at gold and silver prices, the banks suppress the prices, and they have been suppressing the prices on gold and especially silver for many, many years. And these banks, they go, yeah, sure, they might get a fine, a little slap on the wrist fine, but the politicians love them doing this because, gold took off to, $50 or $100,000 an ounce, which it never will. But let's say it did, based on the debt, based on the spending that these idiots are doing. What would that say about our money, right? So there is some interest from the politicians to suppress gold and silver prices because, of course, right, if they went up, people would start questioning them, right? And unfortunately, right, a lot of the fake news, all the fake news, really, the mainstream media, nothing becomes real in the financial system until it's admitted on MSNBC or Fox News or CNN, right? So, the government saying the inflation rate is 3%. It's not 3%. It's probably 25%.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like people have to follow shows like yours, right? And some of these other I call them Patriot podcasts. You have to follow people like you guys in order to really understand what is going on behind the scenes. And it's not pretty. And I feel like people like you guys, what you're doing is you're putting the information out there so people can get ahead of the curve and make smart decisions before everybody else hears about it on MSNBC, on Fox News, on CNN, right? And I think that's sort of the advantage that this Patriot community has, is that we're getting the tip off ahead of time and we can take action before what hits the fan.
No, what is what?
Shit. Lots of it.
Lots of chat all over the place. So, what again? Though, so what is going on behind the scenes that the general public is not aware of? Because the banking system, my opinion, is about ready to collapse. But that's just my opinion.
In my view, I think the banking system is already bankrupt. That's my prediction, right? Evergrande, take Evergrande, that big company out of China, that major corporation. They announced bankruptcy 2 years ago, and then the media backtracked and said, oh, no, everything's fine. And then what do we see back in February? They finally admitted 2 years later that company is completely bankrupt and everybody was screwed. I think they're doing that with the banking system. I think the banking system's already screwed, and the banks have no reserve requirements. They've become more, they're less lenders. They're more servicers of contracts. You have quadrillions of dollars of derivatives out there, right? Debt just being passed around. And now with BRICS, why is BRICS relevant? You know, you hear, oh, BRICS. It's because all these dollars that have for decades used the dollar as their country's reserve currency, they're uprooting those dollars, and now they're moving into the gold-backed Chinese yuan, right? And that's where money intersects with energy, right? It's kind of an interesting topic to talk about. But to keep it simple, those dollars don't just disappear. They're going to flow back to the United States. So what we're going to start seeing here in the next couple of months is massive amounts of dollars flowing back into our system, and that's going to saturate our money supply. The next problem is, how is money created? You create treasury bonds in order to put money into existence. Well, no one wants treasury bonds. The only person buying treasury bonds is the Federal Reserve, right? So they're just keeping the system afloat by buying our own treasury bonds. No one wants them. And at a certain point, I think our currency is going to just drop like a rock. It's going to come from the value of the dollar, having even nothing to do with market crashes. People need to get their money into really what you're doing when you buy gold and silver. It's a currency conversion, right? You're just converting. You're not buying anything. You're converting to a better form of money, so that on the other side of this, whatever happens, right? I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a guru, right? I can just tell you something's coming, and I think your audience would agree with that. I think what it is it's a bridge for your assets, whether that be cash in the bank, right? We also do gold and silver IRAs where you can take your retirement account, right? Turn that to physical gold, physical silver. Just get it out of this failing system and move it into the new system, right? Move it into something that people are going to, I think you're going to need a confidence builder on the other side, right? After a market collapse or whatever happens in the banks, people are going to lose trust between them and their banks, them and their government, right? And how do you build back that trust? You go back to a fundamental asset like gold, like silver, right? That's the type of thing that I think will get people, that will jumpstart the country in terms of a cohesive monetary system in the future.
Uh-huh. So the conspiracy theorists are
none of those here, Lewis.
None of them. No. Where's my tinfoil hat? We're on two sides of the same coin, and what I mean by that is, in regards to digital currency. So you have one side that says, okay, this is part of the Great Reset. This is how they're going to steal all your assets. They're going to do social credit scores on you. And then you have the other side. This is the quantum financial system. This is amazing. This is fantastic. They're both from our patriot movement, and they're pretty entrenched. What's your thought process about the future? And I do think there could be a blockchain element to digital currency in the future, but it always comes down to me is who installed the blockchain and do you trust them, right?
Right. So I've probably heard a lot of the things that you've heard because I've talked to some of the same people like Juan, right? I've had an extensive conversation with Juan about digital currency, right? Bitcoin, to my understanding, and most of these cryptocurrencies out there, if not all of them, were created by DARPA, Defense Advanced Resources Projects Agency, right? So were these cryptos designed to get us into a digital, to kind of move us into their digital system? Probably. Do I think there's validity to them? Do I see both sides of the digital? I don't think there's any Nisara, Jisara. There's no one coming on a white horse to come save us. You got to stand up for yourself. I think people's money won't be accessible for probably years after the banks collapse, right? There's going to be a lot of confusion, a lot of chaos. Even Juan said it, a lot of people are not going to be made whole. The ending is not for everybody, right? Some people are going to be really screwed at the end of this. Right. So that tells me that it's like, that my issue with Nisara, Jisara has always been, you're inviting in the same bureaucracy that you just got out of. You're looking to the government to come in and help. Whereas I think this process is really about getting rid of government. Do I like the cryptocurrencies? Yes. Do I own some? Yes. I take a position in some of them and I see the validity. We'll see how it plays out. But I would definitely say diversify, get your money into constitutional money, because I think the Constitution is going to be the most important element of this, right? And what does our Constitution specifically say our money is? It specifically says gold and silver coin. So when people come work with me, the recommendations I like to make, right, what I like to lean people toward, and people can decide for themselves, is I like to put them in gold eagles and silver eagles. Why? Because that is legal tender. It's produced by the U.S. Mint, right? And the U.S. Mint is a division of the Treasury Department. So if you want to know kind of the stuff that, if you opened up my safe at home, what would you see? You'd see purely silver and gold eagles. That would be my recommendation. As far as the quantum financial system, I mean, sure, there's going to definitely be a digital component. I mean, digital offers so much. I mean, I'm all about the blockchain, and the concept is great. It's just, is it going to be Bitcoin, or is something new going to come in right? And replace Bitcoin in the future, right? Maybe something a little bit better. Something I heard Bitcoin has backdoors to it. I don't know, right? I'm not a techie. I can't sit here and tell anybody anything. I would say if you like it, take a position. It's a very personal decision. But yeah, I would try to own it all. I would try to get out of this. Any way you can get out of this system, the Federal Reserve System, I think is a great idea, at least for now.
Yeah, yeah. Now I don't trust Bitcoin at all because I XLM. It seems like it may be a little bit more stable. Don't know. In regards to Nara Jara, I'm kind of that guy in the middle that pisses everybody off on Nara Jara because the reality is there's not going to be a utopian Nara Jara. What happened is the idea about Nara Jara before was pretty much, okay, let's get rid of illegal debtors, right? And then
Right.
maybe we can get you to zero because of that, and possibly use the Muammar Gaddafi Libya deal where then Americans would get some financial benefit from all the oil, minerals, and so on and so forth that are and gas that is in the ground today. That's primarily what if you really read the origins of it were. And then of course they did that 10-point document. When I say this is the Patriot mythology people. They did a 10-point document, and then that's when I went full scale against the Nara Jara narrative, not against Nara Jara. There's two different things, but the narrative within one document said two things that cannot exist together. Number one, that you'll get a monthly stipend of some sort. Number two, that real estate prices will fall to the 1950s level. I'm like, do you not understand supply and demand? That's actually impossible. You can't infuse a bunch of money into a market and then expect all prices to be reset to 1950
go up.
level.
If anything, yeah, they go the other way.
So that's when I debunked that document. Oh my God, you wouldn't believe the hate I got out of it. That was 4 years ago. And now people are like, oh, I guess maybe there is something to this, right? So I do believe there could be a component of it because I have studied it but I think it's more in regards to more like a financial personal reset. So everybody can be on a legal level playing field within the stock market. There will be no corporations and no entities or banks that can get in there before you. A lot of people don't understand that when you make a trade, your stuff is retraded before it even posts within 1/10 of a second. And which is, by the way, completely illegal, but they won't tell you that. So I believe there's a component of kind of getting us everybody on a level playing field. I think that's probably legit, but I don't take it much farther than that.
Agreed. I would say there's probably components to what you hear about Nara Jara or the quantum financial system that are probably good ideas and are true, but there's so much other stuff that's just complete nonsense that you just have to sit there and just say, this is ridiculous.
Yep. And that's the way it goes too. Cool. So are you seeing the central banking system, I guess, collapsing? Is that what you're seeing? Or you believe it's already pretty much bankrupt? Is that right?
I think it's bankrupt. The Federal Reserve has, an on-balance sheet and an off-balance sheet, right? So the on-balance sheet is the one that you can see. I think that balance sheet has somewhere around $8 to $12 trillion, right? Massive amount of money. But I bet you when we audit, I think eventually you're going to have to audit the Federal Reserve, which they've never been audited before in the 100+ years, which is, think about that. That's crazy, right? These people are in charge of your money, and there's no oversight whatsoever. I bet you that off-balance sheet's in the quadrillions of dollars. And that's how they keep things flowing. That's how they allow the system to just continue. And they're hoping that, the way the deep state works is always problem, reaction, solution, right? And traditionally, right, they've just created the problem, gotten the reaction, and they could come in with their solution. Well, now I think it's going to be problem, reaction, but the solution, they're going to have competition with somebody like Trump. So Trump is going to be sitting there as the wedge to say, hey, I got a better idea, right? He's sitting there on the sideline saying, hey, we can do this a different way. We could get back people's wealth, right? We could try to, sue the banks, whatever the case may be. I think these banks are going to go through years-long litigation. It's going to be televised on TV, and we're going to learn about the banking practices of the last 50 years. Completely illegal. You're dealing with the mafia. That's what you're dealing with. These people are no different than the mafia. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Hey, Robert, did you have a question before I move on to the next topic?
Yeah, no, I think Matt's 100% right. It's like, the bridge between where we are and where we're going, you've got to hold the value somehow. And the paper dollars that we hold in our wallets, we see the value of that dropping all the time. And if you look at, how much the 1950s dollar bought you versus the dollar today, it's night and day difference. It's so less powerful. So, and that's going to continue. And then we look at, you can look at an example like Venezuela, right? Bread went up to like $10,000 a loaf or something because the money didn't even have the value of the paper it was printed on at some point, right? That whole fiat currency collapsed, and we're in that. We're hitting there now, and we can see it. Prices are going up and going up. We talk about the inflation numbers. Of course, we know, Matt, like you said, the inflation numbers we're getting, they're very conservative compared to what it really is. I mean, we're seeing, they're saying 5 to 8% inflation. It's much more than that. We know it's 25, 30, 40% in some cases, right? We're just not getting the real numbers. So how do you store the value? You got to get out of that system. You got to put the money into something else, right?
Yeah, and I think just the constitutional aspect is going to be the most important, because I think this is going to be a process of restoring law and order, right? Restoring law and order. And that could apply to the banking system. That could apply to the medical system. I mean, we could have a whole show just about what these morons did and how they're doing in the banking system. What do you think is really going on behind the scenes? It's like, just from a common sense standpoint, something is going on. And it's like, I can't sit here with a crystal ball. I don't pretend to know all the answers. I just know I want out of the system. And sure, and the way while I'm on the subject, the way I would look at gold and silver, like, let's say you have, $100,000 in the bank. You don't want to take all your money and stick it into gold and silver, but you got to find out, okay, what are my bills? What do I have coming in, right? Buying gold and silver, that's the easy part, right? It's you want to evaluate. It's almost like you have to operate in two different monetary systems. As much as you don't like this one, hey, if you need to fill up your car with gas or go grocery shopping, or you need a new roof, right? Whatever the case may be, you're going to need to pay in funny money. So it's almost like you have to position your assets in the current system, but you also have to look ahead to the new system. And I think gold and silver, to my understanding, we're going to have a gold and silver backed dollar, because a 1 ounce silver American Eagle's got written on the back $1. That's a true constitutional U.S. dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That's beautiful. So, folks, I met Matt in Arizona a little while ago.
Here in Yuma.
Yes, in Yuma at the border, at the border event, I should say, border convoy. So, and we hit it off, but I was told, I mean, Matt's the guy for gold and silver, and the company's with Midas, and if anybody knows me, I'm like, here's what I hear: blah 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 blah, because Robert and I have had gold and silver people recommended to us tons of times, and people approach us and trying us to get us to support them and send business to them, and we've always said no, 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 no. Why would we always say no? And a lot of other places are with these companies I'm talking about, and I'm not bashing them, but the challenges that we had with them is their spot price was too high on gold and silver. You weren't getting what I considered the correct type of gold and silver. Sometimes they would just house it. There wasn't a real person. You're going to 2-3 parties to get to the source. The customer service wasn't there. So I've never recommended it. And there's a reason for that. So unbeknownst to Matt, what I've been doing over the last month is I've been checking on him, because Robert and I have put out hints that we're looking for gold and silver guys, possibly, right? Maybe as a sponsor and so on and so forth. Well, I kind of already had our eyes on Midas Gold Group. So we were checking you guys out and so on and so forth in the background, asking the right questions, making sure the service was there. And then finally I reached out to you. So Matt wasn't going after me. I reached out to Matt and I said, well, tell me what you got. And I was very impressed with our conversation, right? Therefore, we agreed that Midas Gold Group and Matt, or whatever way you want to position it, will be a sponsor of SBG News and Views, because we finally feel confident that we have somebody that we can trust that's been vetted that we can recommend to our audience. Now, we could have made so much money. You wouldn't believe the amount of money people are offering us, and it's definitely not what you guys are offering us. Not that you guys aren't generous, but it's a fair deal, and we're not in this to get rich quick. So, but we've had people constantly ask us, who would you buy silver from? Who would you buy gold from? And we're like, we can't answer that. Now we finally can. So, Matt, give us an idea about your company that you're working with and why it's so different from what other people may see out there. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Great question. Yeah, it's a great question. First and foremost, it's the fact that we actually are storefront. So I deal with the general public, right? I have the product on site. If you're doing gold and silver, whether it be a cash purchase or through an IRA, I have the inventory. My office on Deer Valley, we've got millions of dollars of inventory there. So we have it on site. If I don't have something, I'll tell you. I say, hey, there's a wait time, right? A lot of these companies, they have up to 6 months to fulfill the order. And they could come back. Let's say you bought gold last month or silver last month, right? Boom, big price increase in the last, week or so, right? We're at best, I think, 2,400 right now. These companies can turn around and just say, hey, we can't get the product, right? Maybe take some time to refund your money back. And boom, you missed out on an opportunity. Maybe gold's up $300 since that period of time. So I'll sell people what I actually have in inventory. Ideally, it's gold eagles, silver eagles. We keep plenty of that on stock. Secondly is I like to also think I'm part of your community. In other words, I'm a patriot, just like your audience, right? I'm watching the same shows. I'm getting the same information. And I really feel like I have a very strong relationship with the people that come in from, it's going to be shows like yours, some of the other podcasts that I sit in on. I like to think, I'm patriot minded. I'm very active in this fight. I'm here with, Swinnick and Mickey Klon and all these different people in Arizona, trying to help their cause at these board of supervisors meetings. So I'm somebody who's not just selling gold. I take, money that I make and I put it out there to these people so that they can continue the fight, So it's like, we all got to chip in on this. We all got to do our part. So I like to think I'm more than just, some gold broker. I'm somebody who's very active in the patriot movement, and I support causes myself and shows like yours because these are the people I want to deal with. And quite frankly, I'll be very honest, it's an audience like yours that makes my job very easy because they know something's wrong, right? If I'm just talking to the average conservative, they're still complaining about the usual nonsense. It's like I have to fight cognitive dissonance to say, no, the banking system is on its last legs. And it's like getting through to even people that love Trump. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of them still watching Fox News. They have no idea what's really going on. But yeah, as far as Midas, it's a great company. James, Ken, Gabor, they run the place. James is a veteran. He was a corporal in the Marine Corps. Personal friend, comes over to my house for dinner. When my cat passed away last year, he brought me a new cat that night. That's the kind of people, I work with and work for. And it's really a great company. I consider it a family, really. I mean that, and I don't mean to sound corny.
Cool. Now, when it comes to, obviously you can deliver the product. When it comes to pricing, I know you feel like you're pretty competitive.
Oh, we're very competitive. We're very competitive. We, Eagle prices, for example, silver, they're all over the place. We fall, we'll be more on the cheaper side, I would say, for people. Obviously, when you do volume, right, you can get a better price. Usually with IRAs, there's a little bit more of an upcharge on them, not much, right? There's just a little bit more involved in the IRA, but generally speaking, we're going to come in right on the money. Certainly a lot better than a lot of these other companies that are going to put you in, Perth Mint, one of 1,000 coins that, 1.5 ounce. So it makes it very hard to calculate your per ounce price, right? Or proof gold, right? Which is almost like collector gold. I just put people in just standard gold and silver eagles, right? My business depends on volume. So, for us we do millions of dollars a month. We don't need to charge people astronomical premiums, right? But premiums are going up, and that's not always the doing of us. That could be the wholesaler too. Like last year, we saw premium on eagles just to bring them in house. I think it was $16 over spot at one point. And that's something that myself or no company really has anything to do with, right? And that had to do with the mint not producing them, right? The U.S. Mint's capable of producing, I think, about 5-6 million eagles, silver eagles a month. I think they're producing about 900,000, right? Which is illegal, right? The mint is corrupt too. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, that type of stuff can have an effect. But right now, I would say this is a very good time to buy, even with the uptick in gold and silver price. Who cares whether you buy gold at 2,000 or 2,400? Realistically, it's where you end up. It's a bridge. It's a way to get you from this system into the new one.
Yeah, and I think silver's been even suppressed more than gold. It appears to me. That's where the dollar is. You believe that?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Just look at the paper market manipulation. That's what spot price is. That's the paper market. So you could see a scenario where, hey, maybe they push silver down to $5 an ounce. Well, what are the dealers going to do? Dealers might say, no, silver's now $35 an ounce, and you're going to pay a $30 premium to get it. What are we going to do? Sell the loss, right? So you're seeing this. What you're really seeing is you're seeing the paper market detaching from the physical market. That's what you're going to start to see more and more of.
You know what I think is interesting? I think this is where people miss the boat. When the dollar is devaluing. By the way, folks, the dollar is devaluing massively right now. The reason why you don't see it is because it's artificially suspended, and this is a game that they play. But Robert touched on it the most. You know, the true devaluation of the dollar is when the economy, I'm sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Inflation. Sorry, when inflation goes through the roof, right? Even though the dollar appears like it's staying the same, it really isn't. The dollar is devaluing. Every percentage that inflation increases, if the dollar looks stable, it's not. It's just been devalued. But the beautiful thing is when you purchase, say, silver, that's what I'm into. When you purchase silver, your devalued dollar still purchases an ounce at the same price. And that's the beauty of this. And people don't understand how powerful it is to move their money into precious metals. Because if the economy could just get torched and we can have inflation of 200-300%. And if you're still at that time able to buy silver somewhere around $25, $25 to $30, that's a huge windfall for you because you get the physical silver, which is the whole difference. And I believe people don't understand the power in that. Yeah,
agreed. And I'll add this to it is if you look at the dollar index, the dollar index or the Dixie, it's a totally phony statistic because what they're doing is they're taking the U.S. dollar, the Federal Reserve note dollar, and they're comparing it to other world currencies. Well, they're garbage too, right? So it's like, what's the best currency? It's like, who's got the better smile? The guy missing one front tooth or the guy missing both front teeth? It's like, they both have shitty smiles. That's the point, right? All the world currencies are trash.
Right.
And you really, this is happening on a global scale. Juan said that this is probably going to start happening in Brazil. The big breakdown is going to happen in Brazil, right? When that occurs, I think it's already in motion for sure. But who knows what gold and silver is going to do? I think the big urgency for people to get into gold and silver is a lot of, like, I have friends that are worth tens of millions of dollars. I grew up with them, great guys, don't care about their money. They're just successful dudes, and they've earned every penny that they've ever made. They don't buy gold. They sit on $10-20 million stock portfolios of dividend paying stocks paying 8% a year. So right there, they're making, on $10 million, they're making $800,000 a year, no matter what the market does, right? So gold and silver has no appeal to them, and they're not digging into the information that you guys talk about, right? They're not digging into the real nitty gritty of what's going on behind the scenes. They're sitting there still watching MSNBC, right? My fear is that when these guys do start becoming aware of what's really going on, you're going to have guys worth 10, 20, 50, 100, $200 million coming off the sidelines and swallowing up all the gold and silver supply.
Right.
That's my fear. I think that's the urgency. So it's like when things hit the news, that's only when it becomes real. But by that time, it's too late, right? There's that expression. That's why I think a lot of people need to be preemptive about getting your gold and silver, whether that be just from your cash, right? Checking savings, or doing it through your retirement account, IRA, 401k. Get the inventory while you can, because who the heck knows how long gold and silver is even going to be available to even purchase, right?
Yep.
Maybe the miners think the gold and silver is going to be extremely hard to get. So they say, hey, we're going to stop mining this stuff because we're not going to sell it at $25 an ounce or $30 an ounce. We want to wait till silver's $75 an ounce in order to start mining again.
Right. There's always a concern when we promote a product, and I get it, because I would say 50% of the people watching this probably have money, and the other 50%, a lot of them are pretty desperate right now in financial times. So what I'm going to start doing with you Matt, is we're going to purchase some silver coins, and what we're going to do is we're going to start giving giveaways all the time. And
Let's hear it.
all I would suggest is for you folks that are asking to be part of the giveaway with silver coins, please make sure that you can't even afford $25 or whatever it is. Don't let the people that have a challenge right now financially have an opportunity to get these free coins. And that's going to take integrity on your part, guys, if you're watching this, to say, yeah, I'm not going to put my hand up and try to get a free coin because I can afford one. And I'm not telling you to go buy one. I'm just saying if you can afford it, it's not fair to take it away from somebody that may not. And I believe we have a lot of integrity in our group. And the reason why I like to go this way, Matt, and Robert agrees, is I see a future where integrity is paramount.
Absolutely.
And I see a future where authenticity is paramount. And what happens is I really believe in the human spirit, that we're all going to come around eventually. And literally the only people that would raise their hand are somebody that says, you know what, can you consider me to give me a coin? Because I can't afford it. And then, we'll put you in kind of a lottery or whatever, and we'll do it that way. But I think, Robert, you and I will invest in that. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I know your heart.
I'll double that. Let me just step in. I love that idea, and I'll double that offer. So I'll offer whatever silver is needed. Silver Eagles, right? We can do that. Secondly, I always like to talk to the people that maybe don't have the means, right, at this time. What can they do? And I've got some clever ideas. What you can do is you can go down to your bank and buy rolls of quarters, nickels, and dimes. Why? Because the copper content in there could also become extremely valuable. It's also constitutional money, right? The coins in your piggy bank operate then out of a different monetary system than the bills in your wallet. So the bills in your wallet are the fiat money. The coins in your piggy bank are commodity money. It's called a commodity monetary system, where the commodities in the means of exchange. Trump actually said at a rally back in 2015, he said, hang on to those change jars, folks. Hang on to those change jars. And what do we see in 2020? A coin shortage.
Mm-hmm.
We need your coins.
Yep.
We need your coins. Something's going on there. So something that the average person could do that's on a shoestring budget. Go to your bank and get a roll of quarters for $10. And the beauty is, if you really needed that $10, you could trade it as the quarters, or you could go back to your bank and just get a $10 bill, right? And you pay no premium. There's zero premium involved. So I think having change, I have huge change jars at home. So that's something that I always recommend to people that maybe don't have the means. Go get pennies from 1982 or prior. Those are all copper pennies. The pennies today are zinc, right? And even zinc's good. Hold on to those too. Hold on to all your change. I'm telling you, I think change is going to make a comeback. I think it's going to make a huge comeback. And as far as your giveaway, we'll up the ante. I'll throw in some Silver Eagles. And I'm in George Magazine. You can probably see him wearing a hat. I did an article on gold and silver in George Magazine recently. I will give away, a dozen or two George Magazine to whoever wants them. Just call my office. I'll cover the shipping. Just say, hey, Matt, saw you on, the show, blah, blah, blah. And I will send you some George Magazines.
Very cool.
Awesome.
And by the way, guys, this is not an anomaly for Matt. This is what attracted me to him is I was at several places and he was out there supporting. He wasn't saying, hey, I'm doing this, I'm with the gold, so on. He was just like, hey guys, let me pay for dinner for 30 people. Let me host a get together for Patriots for you doing a good job here. Let me take care of this. And he was taking care of everybody all the time. Not once did he say, this is on behalf of Midas Gold Group. He just like, this is for you Patriots, right? And I believe your heart. I appreciate you a lot. So we're gonna have fun with this, Matt. I can see Robert and I giving away a coin a day or something. We'll figure it out.
Let's do it.
How we're gonna get delivered to people, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and that'll be part of the sponsorship. So obviously we'll put you up every time we're giving away a coin. But I'm excited to do this because I believe the heart of the we the people is amazing, and I really do believe that at least 90% of the people that raise their hands for a free coin don't have the means to go buy one themselves.
We'll take care of it. We'll take care of them.
This is beautiful, and it's, I think this is how we can give back. So Matt, let's talk about where can we find you? How, if somebody wants to reach you for coins or George Magazine, or just have questions, how do they get a hold of you?
Best way to do it, just call my phone number. It's 480-725-0536. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail, because what happens is it gets transcribed to my email. So I'll see on a Saturday morning that I've gotten several voicemails. I'll listen to them. And usually what I'll do, if they're somebody from your audience, I'll just call them from my cell phone. Say, hey, got your message. Let's talk Monday. We'll get a George Magazine out to you. No problem. Boom. I send it with a little card. Usually it's a Trump card, some type of postcard with Trump on the back, Trump or Melania. So yeah, the best way, I answer all my own phone calls. Just call my phone number, 480-725-0536. It's the best way to get a hold of me. And like I said, I answer all my own calls. Call in if you want to just chat. If I got the time to do it, I'll sit there all day and talk with whoever if we're having fun.
Excellent. That's beautiful. And Matt, real quick, we have a large audience outside of the United States. Can they buy coins legally? Is there anything that can be done? What would your recommendation be?
Very good question. I get that question all the time. Unfortunately, we can't mail out we can only do Canada, and there's going to be a upcharge in shipping because it's expensive to ship to Canada. What I would recommend people do in other countries, I would just try to get a hold of your sovereign coin. So if you're in, South Africa, you got the Krugerrand, right? If you're in Great Britain, right, you go get the Britannia, right? That's the sovereign coin. If you're in, maybe Germany or Austria, get the Philharmonic, right? If you're down in Australia, get the, something from the Perth Mint, the Kangaroo, right? The Kangaroo is a nice coin. I would try to get your, wherever you are in the world, I would try to get a hold of your sovereign coin. And being here in the United States, to your U.S. viewers, I would try to get your hands on U.S. American Eagles, at the very least, Canadian Maples.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is an amazing show. I appreciate you coming on, Robert. Do you have any final questions?
No, I'm sitting here. I love Matt's strategies. If you don't have any money, I love the you can get into the game with just coin. I love that, and certainly he's willing to talk and have the conversation with anyone who has questions, because the IRA question comes up a lot. We hear that a lot. We hear people wondering, how do they get involved? How do they get started? How do they store? How do they keep it from getting stolen? You've got all this value. So Matt's got all the answers, which is fantastic.
Yeah. And as far as, people that do cash purchases, if you have questions about like security and houses, right? If you're trying to pick up, $1 million or $2 million of gold or so, something, substantial, I can give you solutions, building fake walls, pulling out a wall, safes. My best friend is a locksmith, right? He does our safes at Midas Gold Group, and he does them in my house, right? So there's all kinds of additional solutions that we can give you if you're thinking about storing some significant amount of money on hand, because that can be a problem for somebody. Somebody's got, $1 million. They're sitting on the sidelines like, I don't know where to put this, right? We can look up local depositories in your area, right? The one state I've found that doesn't have depositories for some reason, and I don't know the answer, is Tennessee. But it would seem to me that any other state, I usually can find a reputable depository for you if you don't want to store it at home yourself. I always like storing it at home if you can, right? Investing in something like a fake wall or something like that, right? Probably a good idea. You can make it look great, so no one will ever know it's there. Your house could get robbed 10 times and no one would find it. But just little insights like that, I can definitely help you out with and give you some guidance.
Perfect.
Beautiful. Absolutely wonderful. All right, that about does it, folks. Appreciate you. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, and resubscribe, unfortunately, because we know we're getting knocked off our platforms now. So just resubscribe. You got to play the game. And we appreciate you, love you, and have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.